And three, two, one. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Rogue Robot Podcast. This is our very first episode, and we have an action packed one for you today. We are going to be covering our trip to Pax South 2020. My co host today is Miss Kayla. This is my girlfriend who went on the trip with me, and this was your first PAX ever. And this is your first
Yes.
gaming event ever, which was even more interesting. So I want to know, as somebody who is not a gamer, what would you say was what was PAX South? Let's start with that. What do you think PAX South is now that you've experienced it?
Now that I've experienced it or before I went?
Well, before you went, you kind of let me know what you thought about it. You kind of said nerd convention or
I didn't say
convention for
that.
games, or I can read between the lines. I can read
I didn't say that. Your mom said that.
whatever. What did you think it was before you went? Then let's go with that.
I just expected to see a bunch of games, just demos of games.
Okay, and once you went, what is your perception of PAX South now?
Well, it's not just all video games, first off. I didn't know that there were going to be like board games and card games set up for as demos. I didn't expect all the different like merch shops, the like Pokemon Expo that we went to. I didn't know they did stuff like that until we started actually talking about the trip, like what, 2 days before we went, planning it out. I didn't know
Yeah.
they did stuff like that either. So I was just expecting a bunch of games, like when we were walking around playing all the different games.
So that is the majority of PAX South is
Yes.
playing the games. But they do have some panels. They have some really interesting panels with like the one that we went to, and the only panel that we went to
Mhm.
actually. I had two that I wanted to go to, and one we just kind of blew off because we were really into playing some of the games.
Yeah, you were having fun. You didn't want to leave.
We were having a blast playing some of these games, and we'll talk more about that later. We actually have 16 different games that we're going to cover in today's podcast. But we blew off the first panel that I wanted to go to, and that was the Borderlands 3 panel where
Yeah.
they were. I don't know exactly what was talked about during the panel, but from just the description, it was basically world building in Borderlands 3. How did they build the world? How did they come up with the characters? Things like that. That was something that I was interested in, but I hadn't played and really dove into Borderlands 3, so I didn't want spoilers. And then you and Flared, who also went on this trip with us, um, neither one of y'all have played Borderlands 3, so it would have just been a panel for me, so we decided to skip it and continue hanging out and playing games. So that is it's kind of what we decided. So now that you've been to PAX, what do you
Yeah.
think of PAX?
What do you mean? What do I think of PAX?
Well, did you enjoy it? What was
Yeah,
it?
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Okay, so what was your favorite part? Was it the panel? Was it the I mean, we only went to one panel. Was it meeting people? Was it the games?
You mean the two games that I played?
You did only play two games. Granted, you did film
I
almost every
did,
game that we
I
played.
did.
So,
I videoed every other game that y'all played, so I only stopped long enough to play 2, but I think my favorite game while I was there, you know what my favorite game was, but that was probably my favorite part.
so, which one? I know you played two. Which one? We're going to talk about all the games later, but which of the
Yeah,
two? Was it the
I didn't know
Tetris
if you
one or
wanted
the
to
party
get into
one?
that yet or not. It was the party one,
The
the
party
one that
one.
we all
Okay.
3 played, yeah.
I liked that one too. We'll have to talk about that one a little bit later on because it is currently not available to purchase or anything, but we
Yeah,
will
no.
cover that game. But yeah, during the PAX trip, I'm gonna hold up the my camera for
You had
the
it right there ready to go.
yes, for the people who are watching the live stream or the video
Oh.
that will be posted to YouTube afterward. Um, she has tons of footage on this camera that I still have to edit and get up to you guys in some way, shape, or form, but for you audio listeners, sorry about that. You guys won't get all of the visuals that we will be showing today. So
Do you remember how many batteries you brought with you for that?
I think I brought 12 batteries and we ran through 10 of them.
Yeah, I have to say we only had like one or two left.
I'm surprised that
So
the Sims card is not full.
yeah, because I
That's
videoed some of the games. I got a good 5 or 6 minutes of just footage of it. So I was surprised it didn't fill up.
yeah. GG to that Sims card. It it did great. So on this trip, was there anything that you didn't expect? Now, this is not limited to Pax South. Anything at all, because I have a story that I'm gonna tell, and
Oh,
I
you
did not.
do?
Yeah, I did not run this by you or Flared before I'm telling this story. But I want to hear your thing that you didn't expect. That's
Um, honestly, in the area that we stayed, all the homeless people that were outside all the time. I did not expect to see that many people.
it. Okay, that went a lot darker than I thought you were gonna
Well,
go.
I
Okay.
mean, you asked.
That is something that I did not expect as well. The last time that we were in San Antonio, it was not as bad with that. And I don't know why it's gotten to a level that it has in that area. I understand that the convention center is downtown. I
Yeah,
expected it to be about like it was the last time that we went. Now, granted, it's been
right.
2 years since me and Flair have went, but yeah, we did have on more than one occasion people asking for money, especially late at night.
Yeah.
For me as a very protective person, at nighttime having people walk up to us whenever you are around, I get very defensive. There was one
Yeah, I
time
noticed.
where that one guy came up to us at nighttime and he was fumbling his words. I didn't know if he was on drugs. I had no clue. And he's like standing right by you. And I positioned
You
myself between
you noticed as
you.
he was coming up, I walked in between you and Flared, and then
Yeah.
as he stopped, me and Flared both started walking the other direction.
Yeah. You guys walked the other direction. And I kind of put myself between y'all. And I'm like, okay, I don't know how this is about to go down, but I,
Yeah.
I'm not going out like this. Because
I was like, I'm not staying. He's stopping. He's talking to you. I was like, I'm gonna walk the other way. Just pretend like we know where we're going. And Flared came with me.
and I honestly would have rathered me handle the situation than him talk to one of you guys because
Yeah. Yeah.
this guy was very unstable and I did a good job, I think, de-escalating the situation and getting out of there. And we just after that, everybody was kind of spooked a bit, and we all went back uh, to the hotel. It wasn't the dude wasn't aggressive. You could just tell that he wasn't all there. I don't know if it was some sort of mental illness or if he was on drugs of some sort. I don't know, but he was slurring and stuttering. We couldn't. I even couldn't have a conversation with him really. I figured out what he wanted, and I just declined, and I tried to get out of the situation. I agree with you. That is something that I did not expect for it to be just in 2 years' time to have that much
Yeah.
more of that in the city. But I'm gonna tell a story now because this is
Okay.
something that I know you didn't expect. I expected this, but I know you and Flair did not expect this. I want to talk about this little Mexican restaurant that we went to
Okay.
because because I had a hilarious time at this Mexican restaurant. So, backstory is we were looking for lunch one day. We
The first day.
were Was this the first day or was it the
It
second day?
was. No, it was the first day.
Okay, so the first day we were looking for lunch. We did not know where good places to eat were or anything like that. So Kayla said she wanted Mexican food. Well, we found a couple of guys who were working a booth of some sort, and we asked, "Hey, what is the best Mexican food around here?" And both of them said, "What was it? Casa Mia, I believe was
Casa
it?
Rio.
Casa Rio." Okay, so
Yeah.
Anyway, the backstory of this restaurant is it is the oldest restaurant in San Antonio for Mexican food. So when I heard that, I immediately knew that we were going to get like real Mexican,
Authentic.
yes, authentic
Yeah.
Mexican cuisine. And you guys did not realize this. Well, I was down
No, I
for it
didn't. Not at all.
because I've been to Mexico. I've been to Cancun. I've been actually to Cancun multiple times, as well as me and my parents went on a cruise whenever I was really young, and we went to Cancun and one other place, and I don't remember where the other place was, but it was another popular tourist destination in Mexico. But I know what
Okay.
Mexican food is like, and I know that uh, the food that is brought out, your appetizers and stuff, are usually relatively spicy, but then the main courses are usually relatively bland because they don't use as much, I guess, peppers and stuff in them. But I digress. This is how normal Mexican food goes whenever you are in Mexico. So, or at least from my experience, other people may have other experiences. But anyway, I digress. We get to this restaurant and I know what to expect. They don't. So we get there, we sit down, get a table, and first things first, I ask about queso. And this is a way for me to judge what we're about to get into. And when they bring it out, it is a traditional Mexican queso, not like something you would get here at kind of a Tex-Mex restaurant. It is a yellow cheese with the peppers and all already ground into the queso. And I know when I see this, I'm like, that's going to be hot because I know how they do it. So, so then I'm like, do y'all have a white queso? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, so I know exactly where this is about to go. So I kind of lead off with the chips and queso, and I take myself a big chip, scoop it into the queso, and I'm eating it, and I'm keeping a straight face. I'm like, okay, this is hot, and I know it's hot, but I'm gonna keep a straight face. So then you take the chip and you get it, and you're like, you look over to me and you're like, this is pretty hot. I'm like, yeah, it is a little hot. Well, then I take the camera out, and I'm in charge of the camera during lunchtime. And I point the camera at Flared, and I said, big bite, Flared, big bite. Take a huge scoop, kind of taunting him. And he takes this chip, and he just gets a huge scoop of this queso and sticks it in his mouth. And immediately, in the camera, you can just see him just like blank face, like it lit him up. He was
He
on.
immediately tried reaching for his drink.
And I'm like, how was it, buddy? And it's hot. It's hot, dude. I am dying laughing. So that was like course number one. And I'm like, I know how this is going. All of this is about to just go downhill. And you guys ended up not liking this place. I loved it.
Well,
Both of y'all.
I didn't like the chicken that was in our quesadilla.
Okay, so let's get to the quesadilla part. Me and Kayla both were smart, and we got these chicken quesadillas. So the way that they do quesadillas is
It was just shredded mozzarella cheese, melted on the tortilla, chicken put on top, folded over, and cut up into pieces.
Exactly.
Just like any other place does a quesadilla.
It's not even, well, a lot of places, at least here, around here, they'll do like American cheese or a Mexican
the place
shredded
I work
cheese.
at does a mixture of mozzarella and American. The place I worked at before just did mozzarella. So it just kind of depends on where you go to which kind you get. But anyway.
Now, let's talk about what Flared got. Flared decided to get the jalapeno nachos.
Yes, he did.
Flared only ate like 5 nachos before his mouth was burning. He did not make it. Flared was literally miserable the entire time we were eating. He was just, everything that he ate just lit him up. He had more to drink at the table than I did. And I'm notorious for having like 5 glasses of tea with a meal. This dude was like 7 glasses of water deep and was still on fire.
Flaird's also not the smartest whenever he orders food. He just kind of skims up and down the menu and points to something, and that's what he gets. He doesn't think about it at all. He likes to just try something random everywhere he goes.
That is true. But, and another thing, neither one of y'all asked me anything. Y'all didn't ask me, hey, what's good at a traditional. So I just let this play out. I let the
Well,
cards fall where they.
I've worked at 2 Mexican restaurants. How am I supposed to ask you?
But it's
I've
but it's
seen different
different.
food.
But it's different from a Mexican like that, like a Mexican style
Yeah, but I
cuisine that's from
also
there.
work with people that are from Mexico, and their lunches that they bring and fix are authentic Mexican food.
Is it the
So I've
same
seen
as
it
like?
before.
Is it the same as like what they cook for the restaurant though?
No,
Yeah. See,
no.
it's different. It's a
Yeah,
whole different
they
ballpark.
bring their own type of food, and, like, their tacos are not the tacos that we portray in a Mexican restaurant here.
Yeah. They're very very different things,
Yeah.
and I found it hilarious. That was my highlight of the trip. Happened on the first day was Flaird's
That was your
misery.
highlight?
Flaird's misery and crying over food was hilarious. And I laughed for. Plus, we had the sideshow of the dude.
Yeah, offering to, sing and
No, not that. I'm talking about the guy at the other table.
oh, that show, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so there was a guy, I guess like 3 tables down, and he did not speak English very well. And his card was continuously being declined. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of feel like this was his thing. Like he went to restaurants and tried to use blank cards or stolen cards or something like that. Because the second that he got caught, and this was like a 10-minute back and forth between him and managers, and he's like, okay, swipe card. And they swipe the card, and he's like, okay, thank you. And then he tries to walk away, and the manager's like, no, the card is declined still. And they have this conversation for like, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes of swiping the card, and it just doesn't
Yeah,
work.
and he was trying to walk out without ever getting the card back, so
Well,
that's
eventually he
kinda
just
what
left the
made me
card.
yeah, yeah.
Eventually he just bolted. He just took off running. And manager chased after him out of the. I don't know that he ever caught up with him or if the police got him or what, but that was
I
a
have
whole
no idea.
sideshow that was going on as well. It was like an entire entertainment show for me as somebody who I like to watch people. I had
Yes.
this little sideshow going on in the background, and I also had Flared who was on fire.
Crying over jalapenos.
So it was great. I was having a great time. Oh man. So I guess let's get into the meat and potatoes of Pax South 2020. The games. We saw a lot. There's no way we're going to be able to cover all of the games that we
No.
saw, but we do have some that we picked out that stood out to us. Maybe not games that I would particularly play on my channel per se, but games that I think if you like that genre, they're good games. I guess let's begin with this. I am not a critic. I am not a game reviewer by trade. However, I am usually pretty harsh on games. So I'll go ahead and just stick that right here at the front of the podcast. I will butcher a game if I need to, but I'll also give praise to a game when it deserves the praise. And we have a couple of games that are really good, and we have some games that are not so good. And we'll talk about those as we get to them. Let's start off first with one that me and you actually didn't play. Flared actually played this game, and it was called Overland. I'm actually going to switch our live feed over here so people can see what we are looking at in real time. But Overland is kind of this. It's kind of this real-time strategy game, and it's basically you have a character that's moving around the city. There's things that are trying to attack you. And this is not a game that really appealed to me, and I kind of wish Flared was here today in order to talk more about this game, because this was one that he spent,
Like 45 minutes playing at least.
yeah, like
We stood and waited on him for a while, and eventually we were like, okay, we're going over to the next booth.
yeah, and I'm showing pictures of it on screen right now. Flared really seemed to enjoy this game. Now, he is somebody who he has played real-time strategy style games like this on
Yeah.
his Twitch channel and stuff like that before. So I see where this could have some appeal. The art design is really interesting. It's kind of a cartoony looking. I don't know how you would really describe this art style. It's very different. It's kind of got a what is that? Pyre? Pyre, I believe, is the game. Um,
Uh,
yeah, I know you're not very
yeah, I
familiar with
don't know.
games, but I believe it's Pyre that has this style of art, and it's real time strategy. It's moving about the world, trying to not die. I thought it was interesting, not something that I would play, so I didn't really spend a lot of time with it. But Flared seemed to enjoy it. So the name of the game is Overland, and if you guys want to check it out, it's by Finji. So you can go to their website, finji.co. That is finji.co. You can check out the game. Maybe it's something you would be interested in. I don't want to give my opinions on the game simply because it's not my style of game, but it is
Yeah.
something that I just want to throw out there. You guys can check it out if you're into that style of game. If I had actually played it, I may would have a little bit more to say, but Flared actually played this game, and I, I kind of, I watched him for a bit, and I was like, I don't like real time strategies. I don't have the patience for them.
Yeah.
So I kind of moved on to other booths, but that
That's kind of
is
what happened with me with one of the other games. It's like, it doesn't interest me.
yes. But while Flared was playing that game, Finji is, I don't know if they're a publisher or if they're a game developer or if they're both, but the exact same booth had another game called Tunic, and this is not my first rodeo playing this game. I've played it once before at another event. I don't remember what it was, but I've also seen trailers for this game, and I actually played this level that we're showing on screen now. It's very much a Zelda like game. So you start off on this island, and the story, for the purposes of the demo, they put it in another language so that none of us could, give spoilers for the game. But basically, you start off on this island, you have no weapons, and you need to basically adventure around and explore until you find your first weapon's going to be a stick. And there's going to be some enemies. You're going to fight with the stick. The stick doesn't do a lot of damage, but it'll get you by a little bit of the game. There's secrets that you like, different alternative paths that you can find, and there's also some backtracking that you'll have to do. So in one case, I eventually found a sword during the demo that I was playing, and I actually backtracked all the way through the level to come back to an area where I could use the sword to progress. Now, I only got to go so far, and then they were like, boom, there's like these big construction walls, and they're like, yeah, you can't go past
Yeah.
there because we're blocking it off for the demo, so you're not ruining things. But there was actually a secret boss that I found that was back there. And they were like, yeah, you're one of the first people to have actually backtracked that far to find this, and past that boss there's construction things and they wouldn't let you go past that. So, but it was a fun game, very much Zelda-esque. The art style is kind of blocky. I enjoyed this game, and it's one that I'm looking forward to. I don't know that it's something that I would play on my channel, but as like a pastime, something
Yeah.
just cool, interesting to play. I liked this one. I thought that it was really cool. Lots of interesting enemies. The camera angle on the game was interesting as well. It's kind of like this diagonal instead of being straight behind the
I actually
player.
liked the camera angle on it because of how I am with video games. It's something that I could actually sit down and play.
Yeah, it's not that top-down view like
Mm-mm.
some of the Zeldas on like DS or something like that have, but it's not a behind the character view either. It's kind of this diagonal view. I don't know how to explain it other than that, which I like. I think that it works well for this. The art style is good. The
Mhm.
gameplay was slow at certain points, but I can't say too much about that because it is a demo. They don't want to give you a ridiculous
Right.
amount of gameplay in order to spoil it. Even the story was in a different language, so they couldn't spoil it. But the game did feel fluid, and that is something that I look forward to in games like this is how was the movement, how was the dodging, which the dodging and the movement was really good, and I liked that. Um, However, as far as story, I can't really give opinions on it. Oh, I also did get a shield at some point while I
Yeah.
was playing.
It's one
The
of those
sh-
secrets you found.
yeah, I found a secret. I found a secret. I So while I was playing this game, I actually had a kid sitting next to me, and
Yeah.
the kid was actually walking me through this tutorial. I was like, okay, I don't know where to get the sword. And the kid leans over and the kid's like, the sword's over there in that room. You should go to that room and get the sword. So I'm like, oh, thanks, kid.
Okay.
So I go and I grab the sword and then I start backtracking. Well, the kid keeps playing through the tutorial or through the demo normally. I go,
Mhm.
I find that secret boss, I defeat the secret boss, and then I'm trying to catch back up to the kid. Well, I couldn't find the shield or something like, and the kid finds the shield and he tells me, "Hey, the shield's over here if you want this." So I get the shield. I wasn't impressed with the shield. It was decent, I guess, to say the least. It wasn't anything. It's not invincibility. You actually have to point the shield at enemies, which I like. I don't like invincibility with shields. I don't like certain games if you point a shield in a direction, even if something hits you at the back, the game kind of auto corrects and spins you around and it makes you
Yeah.
invincible. That's not how this is. If something hits you in the back, you're going to take damage. The shield is just another weapon that you can use. I found it really useful against range characters, the range characters blocking arrows, going down hallways and stuff. That was pretty useful, but it wasn't this overpowered thing to get the shield, and I like that. It felt balanced. Um, I would like to take a look at the game whenever it actually comes out and see what my total thoughts are of it. But overall, great art design, very Zelda-like, and I liked it. I thought it was a good game, something that I'm interested in looking at in the future. All right, next game is Dungeon Defenders 2, and this is interesting. Very interesting. I enjoyed the first Dungeon Defenders. I thought it was a good game, and this looks like they are just improving upon that. It's more bubbly. I feel the art design has gotten a little bit brighter than the first, and it just looks like chaos. And I love games that just throw a ton of enemies at you. It's complete chaos, and you have different abilities to use to destroy. I just love this style of game. It's controlled chaos, and I like that. As you can see, I'm showing pictures on screen now. Very bright, very vivid. I like this. I think that it's a good look for the game. I don't know if they if like during develop they're like, hey, let's just turn the saturation up to like 1,000 because
Very colorful.
it is very bright, like extremely bright. And I don't remember the original Dungeon Defenders being this bright and bold. Maybe it was and my memory is just terrible, but I feel like this is a lot brighter than it was originally. So I actually just want to show off some of the different abilities that they have here on screen. So they have this barbarian who has different abilities with his axe. He has a normal slash. He has kind of a ranged attack. This was a fun game. This was a fun game to look at. I didn't get to get hands on with it because the line was just incredibly long. But art style, I was impressed with. The gameplay looked solid like it was in Dungeon Defenders. I talked to one of the developers as well. I kind of called him over to the side while since I wasn't able to get to the game itself, and I was like, "What have y'all approved upon?" And he's like, "Literally everything from Dungeon Defenders 1. We're going back to our roots, and we're also making it better." So this is a game that I suggest people keeping an eye out for. I'm not sure that it's worth like a deep dive into it on my channel or anything like that, but definitely something I would keep an eye on. Definitely something. And apparently, this says that it's free to play. I did not know that it was free to play. Let me pull up the Steam store. It is free to play. I thought that they said something about charging. Oh, it's for the packs that they are charging for. Okay. So this does appear to be a game that you can play now. I actually may check this game out then just for purposes of talking about it more because I was not able to check it out during PAX. Yeah, that's cool. I may come back to this and talk about it more in depth later, but the world is it's beautiful. I like it. Very dungeon crawler ish. I don't know. It was something that I liked. Anything you want to say about it?
I don't remember this one because you didn't play it. So I was sitting here scrolling through the website looking at it and I don't recognize any of it. So,
The reason we didn't play it was there was a lot of people crowded around that
yeah.
booth, and I believe this was actually so this was an update pack that they were showing off of some sort, some type of. I'm not entirely sure what they were doing here because this game has been out for a while.
Maybe just trying to draw some more new attention to it. I don't know.
I don't know. This was they were showing off Dungeon Defenders 2, but it was some type of DLC update thing that they were showing off. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe I can find it on their website because they did show. Maybe it's under their news tab. They were showing off something new. Was it this Awakened? That was back on December 6th. I'm not sure. They were showing off something new with Dungeon Defenders that the game looked solid. It looked just as solid as always. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that one, but always something we can check into later. This game, moving on to Shot One versus Windjammers 2. Now, this is two games that I group them together because they're the exact same game. They
Essentially.
are literally almost direct copies of each other. Now, I don't know which one came first. I'm assuming that Windjammers is the original, I guess, pioneer of this genre because they have a Windjammers 1, and this Shot 1, I don't believe, has had a previous title. But let's talk about both of them because they are both this, let's call it a party game because that's kind of what it gave me feels of. But it's basically this disc game, kind of like air hockey in a way. I'm actually going to just pull up a link of Shot One first because I thought that this one was my favorite. I enjoyed this one because of the art style. The art style was more bubbly. They were essentially the same game, but I loved this one's art
Yeah,
style.
this one was set up really cool.
It's brighter. The heroes look more interesting. It's kind of got this Overwatch feel with the people that you play as. Very bold, bright, high saturation. I loved it. And me and Flared played this. It was very competitive. We both loved it. Was a fun game. Looks like we were disconnected. Can I rejoin the session? I can indeed rejoin the session.
Oh, you're back.
Did you leave or did I leave?
I don't know. I still had it up whenever I heard the little disconnect button. So I
Okay.
think you left.
Okay, well, is the recording rip in pieces?
No, it's not still recording. What happens if you press record?
Okay, and we are back recording. I apologize for that interruption. Back to Shot One. For whatever reason, we both got disconnected, and yeah, anyway, first podcast, sometimes we will run into technical issues. But as I was saying, I loved this. I loved Shot One. I loved the brightness of it. It was fun. It had some cool power ups. It even had um, a interesting way for you to score extra points with those power ups. Um, so it's kind of a weird.
Kind of hard to explain.
It's very hard to explain, and I imagine that Windjammers had something similar where you could get extra points whenever you used a power up. Um, but Shot One just felt better. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Shot One felt way better in my opinion, and I think it has everything to do with the art design. The art design for Shot One I really loved. High saturation, pretty much the same game. I don't know if Shot One looked at the original Windjammers and was like, hey, I'm going to do that, but I'm just going to up the saturation on everything. I'm not sure what they did. I have no idea, but it works, and I like Shot One. Let's pull up Windjammers just so people have a reference of the two different art styles for this game. So this is Windjammers. As you can see, it looks more 2D cartoonish. Do we have some screenshots of the game? Yes, we do. So as you can see here, very 2D, very cartoonish, not as high of saturation. If we go ahead and view the board as well, the boards are still cartoony, but it looks more comic booky rather than
Yeah.
rather than Shot One, where they had very much an Overwatch feel. To me, I like Shot One better. Both of them are essentially the same game. This disc air hockey style game. Basically, the way that the game works is each player, or not each player, but there's a disc, and each player can grab the disc. If you make it into the goal, it is, I think, 3 points.
Yeah.
If you toss the disc into the air and it hits the ground, the other person doesn't catch it, it's 2 points. And then there's a way for you to score 5, and I believe that is with
That was with the power up thing.
yeah, with the
Yeah.
power up. If you hit it into their goal, you get additional points, and I think it's 5. I believe that's how the game worked. It took us a little while for us to figure out the point system. Flair just kept lobbing the disc into the air for like the first 2 rounds, and I couldn't figure out how he was getting
You didn't
points.
watch the game before where one girl was doing that over and over and getting the 2 points every time. So I saw that and I knew that's what he was doing, but you didn't pick up on that until like 2 minutes in.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that. I didn't pick up that I had to catch the disc. If the disc hits the
Yeah.
ground, it's 2 points for the other person.
Yeah.
I did not pick up on that, and that cost me the first game that we played. The second game that we played, I won, and then the third game, Flair ended up winning again.
Yeah,
But
because he
both of
ended
them-
up getting a power up that pushed him over the threshold.
Yeah, both of them were essentially the same game. I think that Shot One was better aesthetically, so that would be the one that I would purchase. But
Yes.
from people that I talked to at the convention, everyone said that they liked Windjammers better because they've played the original Windjammers.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I never played the original Windjammers, so I guess I don't have that nostalgia of playing Windjammers. But I did play Shot One. I loved Shot One. It was very fluid, very poppy.
Yeah.
I liked it. I had a very fun experience playing that game. This is one of my top games from PAX South 2020. I enjoyed it, and it's one that I actually probably will pick this up just because I think this would be fun for me and you to play, or me and
Yes.
Flair to play, just as like a party game, or
Yeah.
even if we have friends over. It is a party game, and I love it. I think that it's great. It's something that you can you can treat it competitively if you want, but you can also treat it as just a game. I like that. Both of these are good games. I think that Shot One is slightly better, has the edge just because of the art design. But
Mhm.
either one that you pick up, I think it is going to be a good game. I do. I like both of them. Okay, moving on to 2D Nights. And I put this one on the list because it is a 2D RPG. And It's made by a solo developer, and he is currently creating Terra Nova. And this is the game that we saw. And it reminded me of kind of a old school Final Fantasy game. You have your heroes and they fight different enemies around the world as you explore, complete the adventure. Very much an RPG slash JRPG. Liked this game, thought it was interesting. Very much a callback to like the 8-bit RPGs of the past, and I like that. Features of the game is 8-bit and 16-bit mode, turn-based or active battle system. So something that he pitched to us that I really liked about this game is you can customize not only your character but also the game itself. So you have turn-based game, you can play the game turn-based, or you can play it as active battle with a stamina bar. I liked both of those. I like that there's an option for both of those. I think that's cool. Controller and keyboard support, character customization. So not only do you have all of these different styles of character that you can play from, they had all kinds. They had like merchants, they had rogues, they had pretty much any type of RPG character that you can think of.
Mhm.
They had a character like that in this game, and that was cool. Not to mention, you can customize them. I liked this game. It's something that I believe he has it coming out on Steam, but I could totally see this as something that you could put on Switch or something like that you could take on the go, or even on your phone if you could get this something
Definitely.
like this on your phone. I don't know how the active battle system would work on the phone, but um, Steam, I don't really see myself playing this on Steam. But if you were to put it on a handheld, I I would play
Yeah.
this game. I would love it. I wanted to give a shout out to this game because it is something that does have potential for those people that do like RPGs. And also, they gave Flared a picture. So one
Yeah,
of
he got the painting.
one of the, I guess, gimmicks or selling points of visiting his booth was if you come visit, like the game, play it, and then I believe you just had to follow
On, like, Instagram or Facebook or something.
something like that, and he
Yeah,
gave him a framed picture of one of the characters in the game.
yeah.
So that was kind of cool of him.
And he let
I
him pick which one he wanted, he didn't just, like, hand him one, so that
yeah,
was pretty cool.
yeah, it was cool. I wanted to talk about it. I mean, obviously, you want to talk about the game even if he didn't give you this painting, but it was just a cool game. It kind of reminds me of, like I said, old school Final Fantasy. I that's what it looks like to me. We actually have a couple of throwback games in
Mhm.
this lineup. We have another game later on that will look a lot like Mother. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's move on. Swim Sanity. This was a cool game.
It was cool.
Swim Sanity was very interesting. I'm trying to pull up the site now. May take a minute to load because Swim Sanity is a. I believe it's coming out on Steam, but very much a Switch-looking game. Why is my link not working? Hello. Oh,
Hello.
now I got four pages of it up. So this is
Mine
Swim Sanity. Um, Swim Sanity will be coming to Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, PS4, Steam. It's coming to all of them. I can see myself playing this on the Switch. This is another party game, and I love party games, as I've already mentioned throughout this podcast. This is one that, think Super Smash Brothers underwater or Brawlhalla underwater.
basically.
It's a cool game. It's an interesting game. Um, so basically, what you have is these little characters, and they are in scuba suits, and the scuba suits have power ups that they can pick up that will give them a submarine or will give them bombs, health, different things like that. And the entire point of the game is to eliminate the other players. So you are firing missiles, lasers, whatever, at your opponents, and you're trying to be the last one standing. Very much a uh, a party game. It's a
Yeah.
party game. It's something that you could play with your friends, and it would be fun. Let's see if I can find some more pictures. Is this an album? There we go. This is an album. So as you can see here, there's different stages. All of them are quote unquote underwater. So you can actually float around and swim around. Very, very wide range of motion. You have different orbs that give you different power ups. The one that I was most interested in was there was a power up that you could get into a submarine. And while you're in that submarine, you have higher defense, but you also are dealing out a ton of damage. And I loved that. I thought it was really cool. They also have a bubble system. So I believe it's these that are in the top left if you're watching on the non audio version. And if you pick those up, it actually puts a bubble around your character and gives you a little bit more defense. So lots of different ways. It's kind of like drops that you would get in Super Smash Brothers that would give you slight advantages. And I liked it. I thought it was a cool game. I thought it was interesting. They have online, local play. Basically, Super Smash Brothers underwater. Think of it like that. That's kind of the feel that you're going to get for the game. It's a battle game, a fighting game, not a traditional fighting game like a Mortal Kombat, but like a party fighting game. I liked it. I thought it was cool. Your thoughts on it? Anything else that you noticed from the game?
You pretty much covered it all. We didn't actually play this game because the line was so long because everybody wanted to play it, but it looked really fun.
Well, this is one that I don't believe is out yet either. But we watched. They actually had while we were there was during a tournament, so that's
Yeah,
why the line was so long. There was people grouped around this booth because the game was so popular that they. I don't know if they scheduled this tournament or if it was more of an impromptu tournament,
I have no idea.
but there was a ton of people just gathered around this booth, and it looked like a blast of a game. Something I would have liked to have gotten my hands on to play and feel the fluidity of the game,
Right.
but it does look fun, and it does look like something that I would like to play. Everybody that I talked to who did actually play the game loved the game. They loved the party aspect, and I just loved it. I loved it. I
Um,
thought it was great.
if you scroll back up to the top of the website, it actually says summer 2019. So I think it is out now.
It is out now. I thought that they said that it was not out yet.
The website says summer 2019. So I'm not sure if it's only out on one platform and they're working on the rest. No idea.
I have never heard of this game before in my life. Maybe it's out on Steam. No, Steam says
Possibly.
it's coming soon. See, whenever I talked to the developer for this game, I believe he told me that he was, yeah, the release date was supposed to be fall 2019, and it says coming soon still. So when I
Gotcha.
talked to the developer for this, I believe he told me that that they were in talks with Nintendo at the moment, and they're trying to get licensing stuff figured out with them before they actually release the game. I believe it was this developer that I was talking to who said that, but yeah, the game is not out yet, at least on Steam. I don't believe it's out on
It's
any.
not on Switch either yet. So maybe they were
Okay.
shooting for summer 2019 and just haven't updated the website yet.
Yeah, it may be that the game got delayed at some point, but website
Possibly.
does say summer 2019. When I talked to the developer, I'm pretty sure he said it is not out yet. But that's from Decoy Games. Interesting game, and just to spell it out for you guys in case you want to check it out, check out the website on the audio version. Swim Sanity, SWIMSANITY. Cool game, interesting game, something that you guys should check out, and something that I will probably be getting. Moving on to Goofballs. Goofballs is a game that is not currently for sale, also does not have a website, and also was made by a student at a university. This was a game that they had set up, and it was purely to show off and advertise for the university. Um,
Yes.
I don't remember what the university was.
I want to say it
I
was somewhere in Texas, but I don't remember which one. I
I
don't
don't
remember.
know. But this was a game called Goofballs. It was another party game. We put this one on the list. Normally, if if there's not a site, there's nothing being sold, anything like that yet. Normally I wouldn't cover it, but this was Kayla's favorite game. So I want
Yes,
to
it
put this on the
was.
list, and I want you to talk about the game, and I want you to describe it. Uh, Here
I
we
don't know
go.
how to describe it. I suck at describing things.
Well, first off, it was a party game.
It was a party game, and that's why we sat down to play it.
Actually, I don't know that we have much of this game recorded.
We I don't think we have any of the physical game. I got a little clip at the end of like the summary screen of who scored the most goals and all of that,
Yeah,
and the
because
most jumps, and it showed you all of that. But because we were all three playing it, I didn't think to ask the guy that was advertising it or whatever to record for us. So we didn't get any of the gameplay.
yeah, I lost terribly at this game, and that's why you recorded it.
That is exactly why I got the clip at the end because you scored nothing.
I scored not once. Basically, I guess let me try and explain this. You're on a it's a 3D game, but you're basically on a 2D plane, and there are 4 holes in each corner of the arena. And there's a ball in the middle, and you are also a ball character. So your character's a ball, and there's a ball in the middle, and all 4 of you charge after the ball, and you try to get the ball in your hole. So basically, 4
It's
holes, 4 colors. You're trying to get the ball in your color.
essentially a soccer field, but instead of having two goals at the end, you have four holes in like the corner that not quite the corner because you have a little bit of room to go around. So kind of lays it out some.
Yeah, but that was Goofballs. It was interesting, made by a student at a university. They do plan on bringing it to Steam eventually, but they don't have a site up or anything like that. I don't think they're even on Steam right now. I looked for them, couldn't find them. So for right now, it's just something that we can talk about, but not
Yeah.
something that we can show. But it was a cool game. I liked
He,
it. It was
he also
fun.
mentioned the Switch, I believe.
It's coming to Switch as well. Okay,
I believe he said that.
Okay, well, that is cool. I liked the game. I don't think it's anywhere close to being released at the moment.
No, I don't think so
Considering
either.
he doesn't have a Steam page up or anything like that.
Right.
But it was cool, and I liked the game. I thought
It was very fun to sit down and play.
Moving on to Axe Cop, and this was one that Flared and I both played, and we both enjoyed it. It was very much like Mother 3. If you guys are into any of the Mother games, really, but this was very much like Mother. Let me go ahead and pull up the game. So, the game is based off of, I believe, an old comic book. And you're basically going through the story of this comic book. They have some really weird, interesting characters from Axe Cop to Dr. Doodoo to Dr. Stinky Head to the Avocado Man. They have a lot of really weird, interesting characters. But that's not what stood out to me. What stood out to me was the actual gameplay. So I don't know that I can zoom in enough to get... I don't want to play the video. There we go. See this right here? This view of the turn-based combat system looks almost exactly like a Mother screen would, and that is immediately what popped out to me. The overworld of the game is essentially Pokemon-esque. Lots of puzzles that you can solve, some exploration that you can do, but very much a Pokemon RPG-esque game. Whenever you get into a battle, whenever you come into contact with an enemy in the overworld, you enter into this battle sequence, and the battle sequence is set up a lot like Mother was. There's not the I don't remember which game of Mother had this, where there's the beat timing in order to score higher attacks. It didn't have anything like that. What was the game that had the beat timings? I don't remember. I don't remember which Mother game that was. But anyway, that's kind of how the combat system's set up. You're kind of behind your characters, turn-based style attacking. You can kill off the enemy, and then you move on back into the overworld and continue on your adventure. Really interesting game. I would like to can I show off this
In
without the
2009.
audio? Oh, okay.
That sounds like a nope.
Yeah, so this is going to give a background of the game and the comics, and I'm just going to show a bit so you can see it is a 2D style game, lots of story, lots of interesting characters. Let me see if I can show you the battle sequence. So this is actually the segment of the game that we played, actually. This was from the demo that we're showing on screen right now, and it is a normal battle sequence, level ups like you would see in Mother. I like this game. I think it's cool. I don't know what platforms it's coming to, but I was interested. I liked it. I thought it was cool. I would like to see this on it's another one of those games that I would like to see on some type of portable device.
Yeah.
Switch, mobile, maybe this could work. I doubt it. I would really like to see it on a Switch or a 3DS or something like that, but it was interesting.
He also mentioned the part of the demo that we started at. They had like the avalanche that you were running from. And on one computer, the one Flared was playing, he got caught in the snow. So he started at one point, and the other guy that was playing next to him actually made it all the way through. So he started at another point of the game. So I thought that was kind of cool how, depending on what happened in that scene, to where you started at. So it wasn't just one set playthrough. So I thought
Yeah.
that was cool.
And you can also switch out your characters as you're playing as well. So Flared learned that you couldn't get to certain areas of the map if you were playing as the Axe Cop, and you had to switch your character to the puppy dog, and the puppy dog could actually, I don't know the name of the puppy dog, by the way.
I
So
don't
excuse
remember
me.
either, but
But
he could sniff out secrets and then dig and get to a new area.
yeah, and the puppy dog was kind of an interesting feature. They also had the Avocado Man, which I don't know what his ability was, but
I
you
think he
had
could use the gun.
maybe I don't remember exactly what all of their abilities were, but it was a cool game, an interesting game, something that I would like to pick up at some point.
Yeah, definitely. If it comes to Switch, I'll probably get it.
Yeah, it really gave me a lot of Mother vibes. Like that is what I thought of the second that I saw the game, and I even told the developer that, and he goes, "Well, I don't think anybody else has picked that up yet, but yeah, the battle system's a lot like Mother. It's turn based, and it's even got the camera from behind, and yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lot like Mother." And I was like, "Yeah, it looks almost exactly like Mother." Obviously completely different story because they got some weird he said that this was based off of a comic book series, and I've never seen this comic book series, but it looks weird. I'm just gonna say that it looks
It was definitely interesting.
yeah. And even the developer of the game was like, yeah, it's a weird comic, it's a weird I'm like, yeah, it definitely is. All right, so moving on to Swap Bet Showdown. This was one of Kayla's games that she wanted on this list.
It's the other game I played.
Yes, the second game that Kayla played.
Pretty
and
much.
This was Tetrisy? Tetrisy? What is that a fair assumption?
Not Tetris. There's another game I used to play as a kid on the computer. I don't remember what it was, but the object of the game was to swap the different items, whether it was blocks or fruits or whatever. They had a lot of different versions of the game to make groups of 3 or 4 or whatever. And depending on which game, to if they could only be up and down, if they could be side by side, or if they could be in like a group of a square or like a Tetris shape. But the object of this game was to make a group of 3 to keep your thing from hitting the top, basically.
And this game also had power-ups as well, right? So you had
Yes, the what you have on screen where it has like the light blue down by the pink at the bottom. Once that was full, you got a little power up, and depending on which character you were playing with, to what the power up was. But the one Flared was playing with, when he reached the power up, he stunned me to where I couldn't move the controller at all for like 3 seconds. So I could just look out at what my next move was, but I couldn't actually get to it for a second or two.
yeah, so this was a game that I wasn't really interested in. It looked too Tetrisy for me, but you and Flair both seem to enjoy it. I feel like this is a game that you would enjoy. You like the puzzle-esque games.
Yes.
This game's
I
also not
sucked at
out
the
yet.
game. I sucked at the game, but it was fun. Flared won both rounds or all 3 rounds, however many we played. He beat me.
Uh, this is also a game that is not out currently. Scheduled release date for 2020. We talked to the girl that was running the booth, and didn't she say late 2020 she was?
I don't remember what she said. It definitely wasn't like within the next 2 or 3 months though. I don't remember if it was
Yeah.
summer or winter or fall.
Okay. Well, anyway, this was an interesting game if you are interested in kind of a Tetris battle, I guess, or a swap block battle, I guess.
Pretty much. It's more swap block than Tetris because the blocks are filling in from the bottom and moving up, whereas Tetris, you see what block you're getting at the top and you're putting it down at the bottom. So this is just filling up as it goes, and then you have to move them to bring it back down.
So this game is kind of like Candy Crush, but super fast. Kind of.
I guess you could say that. Not really, but I can't think of the name of the game I used to play.
Okay, so basically the blocks fill up from the bottom. You're trying to switch blocks around to get 3 in a row. If you get 3 in a row, then those blocks disappear, and you're trying to get your bar to not hit the top. Meanwhile, you
Yes.
have power ups that are filling up at the bottom that you can use to manipulate your own board or your opponent's board.
Pretty much. And if
Okay.
your blocks reach the top, then it's game over and your opponent wins.
See, this is why this is not my style of game, because that is way too complex for me. And small brain over here, I can't deal with all those little things.
It's not that complex, but it was very fast paced, and Flared was much quicker at it than I was, and that's why he beat me all 3 times.
Yeah, this is not in my wheelhouse.
They also had a neat feature that all of the previous games that I've played didn't have, where you could swap a block with an empty space. And I did not realize that until like the last 20 seconds that we were playing, whereas Flared picked up on that almost immediately. So if you had one line of like 7 in a row and the other ones were only like 2 or 3, you could easily move it over and keep it from hitting the top. I didn't realize that, so I lost a few from that.
So, Israelo, who is in our live chat right now, he said it looks like Yoshi's Cookie or Tetris Attack from the NES/SNES days. So, there you go. There are some games that you can compare it to. But that is it for Swapette Showdown. Interesting game. One that I'm not interested in, but something that, some
I
of
liked
you.
it.
I'm just not a person that is real into block swappy games. I don't know why. That's just not me. I'm not into even.
Because you didn't play them as a kid. You played other types of games, and that's what you got into. I played very, very simple games as a kid, like Tetris. So that's the type of game that I like now.
Well, here's another thing that, like, me and you really differ on this
Hmm.
in that when I get into games, I usually want to be the best at that game, or I turn whatever game it is into a competition. So, for instance, you got me into Candy Crush a while back,
I did.
and I hated you for it because what I did was I hooked it up to my face. Oh, my camera is all blurry. Anyway, I hooked it up to my Facebook, and I wanted to see what these other losers' scores were, and I wanted to have the top score. So I would play the same level like 20 times to where
Just to
I
get a
was the
higher
top on the
score.
board. I would obsess over one single level because I needed to beat all of my friends. Every Facebook friend that I had to beat them at that stupid particular level. That's
You
why
had
I
to be
hate
the
those
very
games.
best.
Like no one ever was. That's something that drives me absolutely nuts
Oh.
about those types of games is any game that has like a public leaderboard like that, it drives me crazy. Just drives me up the walls, and that's why I can't play. I uninstalled Candy Crush from my phone
I have
because
not
of that.
played it since I worked with you. Like, I have not played it since I left that job, I don't think.
I don't know that I could play, and if I did play it, I'd probably break my phone now. I just can't do it. Drives me nuts. Okay, next game. We are on to Greek. I liked this one. This one was a good one. This is not my favorite from the entire convention, but it was a good one, and I liked it. Let's go ahead and let's pull it up. Very interesting game, 2D platformer. Reminded me, and some people may have different opinions on this, but it reminded me of Hollow Knight, and I loved Hollow Knight. So basically, this is a single player side scrolling adventure game, but you have control of. In our demo, we had control of two characters. Apparently, according to this site, you can control up to three characters, but basically, you use these two different characters to solve puzzles as you go through the game. And I loved this. I thought this was amazing. So, you play as, I believe we started off as this little boy here in the orange tunic, and we eventually meet up with the little girl here. And basically, once you meet the girl, she is trapped in this castle, and you switch over to her character, and you basically break out by finding this pressure plate. That pressure plate opens up the gate to let the little boy in. And then the little boy follows the little girl around, and it's basically you switch back and forth between the characters to apply weight to pressure plates to open up
Hmm.
different areas. And the little boy is a melee attacker. He attacks with a sword. And then the little girl is kind of like a magic. Basically, she's more of a ranged attacker. And she has kind of this floatiness to her where she can get across gaps where the boy is more of your typical platformer where he's mostly just a jump.
Yeah.
Really interesting game. I don't think we ever played with this big guy, at least not in
I
my time with the demo.
think the people next to us made it far enough in the demo to where they got the third person, but I think you and Flared both either quit or died before you got to that point. But I
Yeah,
think he
well,
was there.
that is something. So, as you can see here in the picture, for those of you who are on the audio version, I apologize. But here in the picture, you can see um, the girl that is in this picture is using some type of ranged attack, like a magic E attack, and then the boy is using this laser sword. The enemies in this game were surprisingly hard, and I don't know if it is because the enemies are hard or if the hitboxes are not exact. I was getting hit a lot when I thought I should have been dealing damage. So I would swing my weapon with the boy, and it seems like my weapon would just go through the character and I would get hit instead. That was just my feel from playing the game. And I took a lot of unnecessary damage while playing because of that. It felt like the hitboxes weren't quite perfect yet. I don't think that this game is out quite yet, so they'll probably fix and refine that before the game comes out. But that was just my feeling during the game. I felt that the hitboxes weren't quite right yet. My personal opinion, anyway. Overall, I like the art style. Once again, gave me a lot of Hollow Knight feels. Very dark, gloomy, but with bright aspects to it, whether it be your sword or fire in the background. Really gave it a glowing effect. Um,
Yeah.
I liked this game. I thought it was cool. I thought it was interesting. Um, Apparently, according to this, you also, each character, other than their abilities that you can attack with, um, I'll actually just read this. So you have Greek, who is the main character, and he is the smaller brother. He is swift and agile. Because of his size, he can fit into small, narrow spaces, which I actually saw this at one point during the demo. He could fit through an area that
The girl
that
was like too tall to fit.
no, the girl I think probably could have fit as well. I didn't try it, but this Raydale guy who's much bigger, there's no way he could have fit through that.
Okay.
So yeah, 100%. This is Adara, talented apprentice of the Pira Monastery and middle sister. Her skills of levitation and diving makes her an excellent explorer, which is true. I used her levitation to get across larger gaps and things like that whenever I was playing with her. She was really fun. I actually her ranged attack was actually more powerful, in my opinion, than Greek's sword attack. It felt like the hitboxes were a little bit more on point with her ranged attack rather than Greek's sword attack. My
Yeah.
opinion, that's just how I felt when playing the game.
I
Raydell,
noticed you using her a little bit more than him while I was recording the gameplay.
I used her because it felt like I could deal with enemies better.
Yeah.
Like that's just how it felt. I felt like if I could keep them at a distance, I wouldn't take as much damage. Whereas with Greek, if I got close enough to actually use my sword, I was taking damage, and I didn't like that. So I've mostly played with her.
Mm.
Now, Raydell, I did not play with. You said that you thought you saw somebody get to a point where you got him. We had a lot of people in line behind us wanting to play this game, so
Yeah.
we kind of got kicked off the demo. Um, but this is one of the best warriors of Azure and the big brother of Greek and Adara. Excels at offense and defense by using sword and shield. Due to his heavy gear, uses a hook shot to traverse complicated terrain. So that sounds interesting. A hook shot would have been useful in some areas that I was in, and a shield would have been amazing because some of the characters, they're very fluid enemies, like loosey goosey type enemies. Having a shield to block some of the stuff could have been very useful. And there was one enemy, I want to say it was like a bat that was really fast, and a shield would have been useful against him as well. So I would have
Yeah.
liked to have played with Raydell. There is a demo. Try the demo if you're interested in trying out the demo. Okay. So apparently I can enter an email and maybe get a demo for this game. Maybe something I'll look into because I did like this game and it's something that I would
Yeah.
play. It's also coming out on Nintendo. So where Hollow Knight came out on Nintendo and was a huge success, this is also coming out on Nintendo, and I think it'll be a success. I do believe that they also had this game in another language as well. No, they didn't, did they?
Mm-mm.
They had this. They had the dialogue in the background.
Yeah.
I didn't get enough of the story though. There wasn't really any spoilers in the demo.
No, there wasn't a lot, which is probably why they kept it in English.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of spoiler. It was talking about being brave and Greek being
Yeah.
brave and stuff like that, but there wasn't really a lot of spoilers. Yeah, it was in English now that I remember.
Mhm.
So yeah, this was an interesting game. I liked it. I will most definitely be picking this one up on Nintendo Switch because I liked Hollow Knight. This one gives me the same feels, so I have high hopes for this game. I think it would be fun. All right, moving on. The Day We Fought Space. I do not like mobile games. Let me just get that right out front here. I hate mobile games. I am not a fan of them. I've never been a fan of them. This was an interesting mobile game. It's chaotic. It is a chaotic, just cluster of madness. And I liked it. I did. I thought it was interesting. So let me zoom in here and just show you guys kind of what the game is about. We played this on an iPad, and as you can see, there's just a bajillion enemies on the right side of the screen that you are fighting off, and you're shooting and you're moving up and down with this hand. Meanwhile, this hand controls your attack. So your left hand moves your spaceship up and down, and then your right hand controls if you're shooting in an attack spread or if you are shooting a direct attack. So very weird, very interesting game for a mobile game. I imagine it's going to have like microtransactions and stuff like that in order to make money. But as something that I could see myself, I got 5 minutes on college campus or something, and I don't have an actual video game to play like on my Switch, and I want to pull
Yeah.
out my mobile device and play that. I could see myself doing that. This was a fun enough game. There was
Flared
also
really enjoyed this one too.
yeah, there was also different power ups depending on the ship that you were using. So, like one ship that I got to try out, actually, if you double tapped, it would spawn in a black hole and it would suck in
Mhm.
all of the ships that were on the screen.
Yeah, that was awesome.
She actually had a boss that was sent out at me at some point during the demo, and she's like, "Look out for this boss." I'm like, "I ain't looking out for nothing." Double tap,
Double tap.
and I sucked the entire boss into the black hole. And I'm like, "Next, move them on." Yeah, it was a fun game. It was interesting. Like I said, I'm not into mobile games, but this one was fun, and it was something that I could see myself playing if I had 5 or 10 minutes just to kind of blow in between classes
Yeah,
or something.
just a
Um,
little relaxed period in between classes.
yeah. Now it is a mobile game, so once it comes out, I'm sure it'll be littered with microtransactions. That uh, double tap for the black hole. That was like the last spaceship in the list. So I'm imagining that's going to be either the last one you unlock or it's going to cost a pretty penny. One of the two. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm always very skeptical with mobile games. They may come out and they're like, hey, all of this is just unlockable and we're going to make money through ads or something like that. That would be cool.
That would be great.
I don't know that that's the case. I would imagine it's going to be microtransactions of some sort, which is kind of standard for the mobile game industry at this point. So I can't really fault them for it, but it's one of the reasons that I stick away from mobile games is because of the microtransaction stuff that's in the games. You can check it out if you want to. It's The Day We Fought Space. It was a fun game. Don't know that it's worth spending money on, but if you have time between classes, whatever, something you may want to check out. It was cool. It was fun. I enjoyed it. And let's move on. Next up is Eagle Island. This is one that me and Flared both played, and there was a lot of, I guess, attention brought to this game that, like, around the convention, there was a lot of advertisement for it. I don't know what it is about this game, but I'm not a huge fan of it. Like, it's decent in every way. Nothing spectacular, but decent. It is what I would call average. And maybe it's just that it's not my style of game. It's kind of this RPG-ish game. Basically you have this bird. The bird is what attacks for you most of the time. I don't know. I don't know what it is about this game. I don't know why. It's not that the game is bad in any way. It's just that it's average in every way. That's my opinions of the game. It's a roguelite game. Kind of have some RPG-esque styles. The way that they talked to the game whenever they were talking to me was basically you go on an adventure with this bird, and this bird is the way that you attack, and you're trying to save the island. So very much felt like an RPG to me, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. This just wasn't something that stood out to me. I don't know
Mhm.
if it's the art design. I don't know. Because the art design that they showed for advertisement at the convention made this look amazing. And then you see the game and you're like, okay, well, it looks decent. It
Yeah.
looks interesting, but
It didn't keep my attention.
yeah. And I don't know what it is about the game that makes it not keep my attention. That's the weird thing. Is like I've never had a game where I looked at it and I'm like, oh, that's decent, that's decent, that's decent, and I don't want to spend time in the game.
Right.
Like it's just, in my opinion, it's average in every way. There's nothing super special, I guess, and that's maybe it's just from the demo. Maybe it's just from the demo that it looks like that. Because here, looking through some of the gifts that they have on the Steam page, it looks like there may be a bit more to it than what we saw in the actual demo. But from the demo, I was like, it's pretty average. It's pretty average. I don't know. Maybe it's just not my type of game. And that very well could be it. It may just not be. I may not be the intended audience for this game. It kind of even. It kind of almost looks Zelda-esque. I don't know. I don't know. There's not a lot for me to say about this game. There is a demo that you can try it out on Steam if you want to. Um, I'm not gonna say anything bad about the game. I'm just not gonna say anything great about the game either. It to me it was average. I don't know. Do you have anything that you would like to add?
It didn't keep my attention while you were playing it, so I really don't have anything to add.
Yeah, and it's weird because it is an interesting concept.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you have this bird and this bird is what attacks things for you. I like that. I don't know. I don't know. I guess it's just not interesting enough. I don't know. I'm I want to say good things about the game, but it seems so average. It seems so average, and I it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not necessarily a good thing either.
Right.
You know, so maybe I'm just not the target audience, and other people that are watching the stream that are looking at this, they're like, "Hey, this is something that I would play." Me personally, my feelings, it's a game. It's okay. It I can see that some people would play this. I don't know that I would. It's kind of got an arcade feel to it as well.
Yeah, a little bit.
Very interesting. But yeah. I don't know that I even finished this demo, to be honest with you. It was just something that I wasn't super interested in even when I was playing it.
Flair did sit and play it longer than you did, but I don't know if he finished the demo or not. But he did play it a little bit longer.
Yeah. Now this game has been out for a while as well. It released in July 10th, 2019. Only 52 reviews, mostly positive reviews. So, like I said, maybe this is not my audience. Mostly positive. It doesn't have like extremely positive or anything like that. So, mostly positive, I usually interpret it as people say, this game's decent, but it's nothing extremely special. That's how I interpret mostly positive. Other people may interpret it differently. Game is 40% off right now. There's also a demo if you guys want to check it out. It was there. Just not something that stood out to me. That's just bottom line of it, not something that really stood out to me. Next up, we have Forgone. This was a game. It was interesting. I liked it. It is a 2D action platformer. Let me tell you. By the way, this game is not released yet. Planned release date, I believe the guy told me late 2020 or early 2021. Steam says 2021, so let's go with that. Let's go with early 2021. This game, I walk up to the game and I'm like, "Hey man, I want to try out your game." He goes, "Okay, I'm just going to let you know it's going to start off easy and it's going to get hard really quick." I'm like, "Okay."
Really quick.
And I'm like, "Okay, well, let's give it a shot. How bad can it be, right?" Well, I play and I defeat like the first 4 or 5 enemies. And then magically, this game turns into Dark Souls. This game gets insanely hard, insanely quickly. They just have like, I got to one point in the level that there's just a boss mid level.
Yeah.
Like you climb up this ladder and you're like, do, 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 I'm doing fine, you know? And then you get to the top of the ladder and the boss is just standing there and it just smashes you.
He's just waiting for you. Like you thought you had this under control. You don't.
Yeah, not only that, but then the boss spits out enemies. The enemies that
Yeah.
you've been kind of struggling with, yeah, he just farts them out at you.
As if the boss wasn't hard enough by himself.
Yeah. And it was such an I've never had a 2D platformer that just slapped me in the face like that. It was like easy, 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 easy. Oh, hey, look, some gear upgrades. That's another thing. They have gear upgrades. They have you can get different types of swords that do different damage levels. Same with your bow. You have different bows that do different damage. All kinds of really cool, interesting things. I love the concept of the game. This game's hard though. It was Very hard. And I had some people who were playing next to me who they actually got a little bit further than I did. But the vast majority of the people got to the same point that I did in the game and got crushed.
Yeah.
Overall, fun game. I liked it.
No way that I could have played it though.
No.
I would have died way before you.
No, an entry level player, like somebody who's not playing video games all the time, I
Yeah.
would not really recommend this game. But if you like
Not
a
at
game
all.
that gives you a challenge, it's kind of like I would never recommend Dark Souls to a player who is new to video games. I would never do, unless I just am mean and I really don't like that person. Then I may would. I don't know that I would recommend this game to somebody who's brand new to video games. But if you like it, hey, there's the boss. There's the boss. They actually have a GIF on their Steam page. It's this little orange crab looking guy. He was hard. And he looks easy here, but don't let him fool you. He's hard. Okay? Anyway, yeah, I don't know that I would recommend this to somebody who is just starting out into games or doesn't play games that often. But if you want a challenge and you like 2D platformers, I would say give this one a go. This is
Absolutely.
Foregone, Foregone, and it's not out yet. Maybe add it to your wish list on Steam if you want to check it out in the future. Interesting game. Very hard, though. Very, very hard. Okay, moving on to our special mentions. This is not honorary mentions where like they didn't make the cut. No, this is special mentions because these two games we had interesting experiences at both of these booths. Let's start out with Doom Trooper. And this is one that I'm going to talk about. This is probably going to be a relatively long section of the podcast.
Just a heads up.
Yeah, because I loved this game. And not only did I love this game, I loved the developers and the team around this game. They were super cool. And I imagine that they're probably going to watch at least this clip of the podcast. I don't know if they're going to watch the entire podcast itself. But
They might. If you send it to them, they might.
let's talk Doom Trooper. Because this is a card game that was... I don't know. I don't know what time period this card game was from, but I'm going to go ahead and say I'm not a card game guy. Kayla.
No, you're not. I am.
Kayla likes card games.
I love card games.
Flared kind of likes card games. Flared likes, I believe Flared has gotten into Hearthstone before. I don't like Hearthstone. I don't like card games. I am not interested in card games. I like this game. It is a fun game. It reminds me kind of like a Yu-Gi-Oh style game almost. I don't really know it's its own game. That's what it is. It's its own card game, and I like it. So we actually visited this booth all 3 days. So the
Yes,
first
we
day we
did.
went, we sat down, and me and Flair, we kind of just hopped down at this booth, and we were like, we're going to play... Skip all the tutorials. It's a
Of
card
course.
game. How bad?
Tutorial. Why would you watch the tutorial and learn how to play the game?
I have no idea what kind of a loser would watch the tutorial.
Me.
And
I would watch the tutorial. I am that loser.
yeah, you're that kind of person. Anyway, I'm not that kind of person, okay? So we both blow past the tutorial, and we're trying to figure out that neither one of us can figure out how to play the game, right?
No, not even close.
So finally, the developer, who his name is Justin, and the developer's brother, I don't remember his
Tyler.
name. Tyler? That was his
Tyler.
name?
His name was Tyler.
Okay, so Tyler comes over, and Tyler's helping Flair. Justin comes over. He's the developer of the game, the actual creator of the game. He comes over, and he is they're both helping us play the game. And we get through the demo, and we're like, "Hey, yeah, that's a cool game. That's interesting. We would like to check it out." And then Justin goes, "Hey, would you guys actually like to play against each other? Like, I can set these computers up and y'all can go against each other." Now, meanwhile, me and Flair were talking smack the entire time.
Yes.
Even though
All
we
of
were
the
playing
smack talk was going down.
Even though we were playing the demo and we weren't even playing each other, I was like, "Yo, dog, I'm beating you at the demo," and stuff like that. So they were like, "Look, if you want to go against each other, we can set it up." Well, they tried to set it up for us the first day. Turns out they had some type of technical issue, and they're like, "Come back tomorrow, we'll have it set up." So we come back on the second day. They set us up, and we're able to go against each other. And it is a fight. It is fight night. We have like the lights, we have the music going. We don't actually have any of this, but it was fun. It was a blast. Me and Flair got to go against each other. They had pre-built decks for us. Flair used the cyborg style deck, I believe, the first day, and I used the samurai deck. And Flair wiped the floor with me. In fact, it got so bad that Flair actually traded some of his, I believe they called them destiny points.
No. You're on day 3.
No,
Day
I'm on day
2.
2.
No, day 2 they had it set up, and Flaird was getting money for all of his. And he eventually realized that he was supposed to be going for victory points, but he was doing money the whole time. And then you came in with a card and took out one of his people, and they had it set to where first kill won. That was day 2.
Yeah, but we played 2 games that day.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, the first game we played, and it was first person to lose, a person loses, right? So I took out his person, and I won that match. But we played again with the same decks right
Yes.
after that, and did like a 45-minute game.
Yes.
So
But
anyway,
he didn't trade any of his points to you that day. That
yes,
was
he
the third
did.
day. That
No,
was the
he
third
did.
day. I
He-
have it on camera.
He had like 60 points, and he traded them
No.
to me because I had
No.
nothing I could do anyway. So
That
he
was day
traded me
3.
the points, and I tried to play. I played like all of my. He still wiped me out, and I lost. So that was it for that day. Day 3, we came back, and they had a new deck set up, and I picked that deck. So we only played one game on the last day, and I smoked Flared because I had this deck that they took from their top player.
Yes, but you also ran out of the money that allowed you to make moves that day, and he had like 15 with no victory points, and he couldn't do anything with them because he had no cards, so he traded them to you. He was winning on day 3 and traded you points to let you play, and you ended up coming back and beating him.
That was on day 2. That
That
was
was
our
day
day
3.
2 match. Promise,
day
that was
3.
our day 2 match.
Look it up.
I will look it up because the
Look it
day
up.
3 match was very competitive. We didn't trade our destiny points at all, and I ended up
Yes, you
beating
did.
him.
I videoed it.
I know. I know you videoed it, and I promise you that I won day 3.
You
Because
did win day 3. I'm not saying you didn't win, but that's the day he traded you destiny points.
No, it was day 2 because he literally kept extending the match as far as he could go, and just kept extending it, and I had 0 destiny points, and I
No,
was
because
nowhere close to winning.
day 3, he traded you all of his destiny points and allowed you to win. And then he had no destiny points. So Justin keyed in a code and gave him unlimited destiny points with no moves. And then the very next move that you got, you beat him. So he didn't even get a chance to play any of his cards because he didn't have any moves.
Yeah,
That
but
was
I
day
was
3.
beating him the entire game, is what I mean, because I had that Festering Wounds card. So there's a Festering Wounds card in this game where if you injure the other person, any of his characters, and they have any wound whatsoever, you can play a Festering Wounds card, and it kills every character on the field that has a wound.
Yeah.
So that's what I did, was I let him get like 4 or 5 enemies lined up, and I would wound each one of them. And then I would play the Festering Wounds, and I'd wipe the board. And that's how I was just destroying him on day 3 of the game.
Yes.
On day 2, I had no chance at all. He took out my best character that I drew immediately. I think I ended up that game with 5 victory points, maybe. Meanwhile, he had like 19 or 18, and then he traded me destiny points, and I still lost because I couldn't come back. I was way too far behind.
I don't remember him trading you destiny points on day 2, but we'll go with it.
He gave me
Sure.
like 60 something destiny points, and he still beat me with the 5 or whatever that I had. Because I had no characters on the field at all.
We'll go with that.
Anyway, so that's Doom Trooper. Doom Trooper was fun. I guess let me explain the game a little bit. Basically, it's a card game. You play the cards. These cards have a strength value, they have a shoot value, and they have a defense value. Basically, your shoot and your attack value, you choose whether you want to shoot or attack the enemy that you're attacking. And then the defense value, as long as your defense is higher, you should come out of the battle okay. If your attack is higher than their defense, you should wound the other player. From what I understand, the combat is a little complex because there's three values, but that's the basics. If you can get over their defense, you can wound them. However, they can wound you back. So if their attack is higher than your defense, when you attack them, you can wound each other in the battle, basically. So it is an interesting game. There's also mid combat when the two enemies are fighting. You can play like a card that surprises your opponent that will
Hmm.
up your strength by 5 or something like that and give you an advantage to take them out. I remember at one point, Flared had a card that should have wiped me out. He had like 2 or 3 shoot points above me, but I had a card in my hand that was called something artillery, airborne artillery or something like that. Anyway, I played that and it gave me +5, I believe, to my shoot points, and I ended up wounding him instead. So it was a really interesting game.
They also had some neat cards, like the suicide bomb card that he had on him for that one
Yes,
when you attacked and y'all both died, and you were like, "How did I die? When did I lose these two other people?" And you didn't notice until like 3 rounds later,
yes,
and it
that
was because
was
he had suicide bombs on all of his guys that were low value.
Yes, that was on, I believe that was the day 2 match when I
Yeah,
was getting
that was
destroyed.
pretty good strategy on his part.
I didn't realize what that card did. I saw that he played it on his character. I'm like, I don't know what that does. So I just kind of moved on. Well, whenever I got you basically have one really, really high level guy in your deck.
Yeah.
And whenever you play that guy, you can kind of build him up with additional cards. Well, I had him pretty close to maxed out, and I was ready to just run through his team. The first dude I attacked apparently had a suicide bomb vest on and just wiped my dude out immediately. So yeah, that's the game that I got way behind on, and he traded me his destiny points, and I still had no chance to come back and win because I didn't have anybody out. He literally had taken all of my guys down with him. Yeah, it's a fun game. It is a fun game. I'm not one that is into card games, but I'm into this game. This is the only game that
It
while we
was
were at PAX South, we pre-ordered.
it was the only type of card game that you like because there was also strategy to the card game. It wasn't just based off of the draw, and like it had a lot more strategy to it than just, "Oh, I have these cards."
That and it's one attack per turn. So like I've tried to
Yeah.
get into Hearthstone before, and people um they always kind of praise Hearthstone as being this great card game, but Hearthstone you can kind of just overwhelm your the person you're playing against and end the game
Right.
super quick.
And that wasn't
This
the case
game,
with Doom Trooper.
no, you can only attack once per turn. So there's no overwhelming, it's a strategy and it's a long match. Like
45 minutes at
yeah,
least.
our third game, which was probably the most competitive of all of them that we played because
the
I had the really overpowered deck
the
and
camera overheated on that match. I couldn't record anymore because the camera physically would not.
yeah, it
It had been going too long.
it was probably a 45-minute game. I ended up winning, but it's a long game, but it's a
Yeah.
fun game and I enjoy it. I
It was
really
probably
liked it.
closer to an hour that day. That was a very long match.
Yeah, even with me being able to wipe off his entire board with festering
Yeah.
wounds, he
He
was
still
still
had
able
little
to.
things that were able to come back with all his extra strategy cards, and it was very fun to watch.
Yeah, there's a lot of strategy to this game. I really really liked it, um, and I really really liked the developers. I liked Justin. I liked I forget what the lady's name that was there was.
I don't remember her name.
I'm in their Discord server. Hold on, let me get her. Let me get her
I'm
name because she
also
was really nice as well.
I also joined their Discord,
I don't see her there.
and so did Flared. We all three joined it.
I don't know. There's Justin. That's the developer.
Yeah.
I don't see her. I don't remember her name though off the top of my head. But she was really nice as well. All of the developers for this game were actually really nice. people. Every time we came up, wanted to play the game, they were like, "Yeah, we'll whenever everybody's done playing and both seats are open, y'all can jump in and we'll set it up to go against each other again." And we enjoyed it. We loved it. Great game.
It was awesome. They enjoyed having y'all there as well because while y'all were playing, you drew an audience of like 10 or 15 people standing behind you at one point just watching, and all of the yelling y'all were doing back and forth. They were like, "Oh, this is more than just some cards." Like they were actually interested in it. So it was really cool to watch everybody watching y'all.
Yeah, me and Flared were yelling at each other and talking smack the entire time that we were playing, and that made it
Oh
even
yeah.
more fun. Um, so yeah, that is Doom Trooper. Really like the game. Highly recommend you at least checking it out. I
Yeah,
think
the
it's worth
devs
it.
were super cool people. They even got in on the smack talk with y'all. It was really fun.
Yeah,
Highlight of the games was Doom Trooper for sure.
yeah. This would be my top pick for the games at PAX South 2020
Definitely.
because it was just it was a fun game. It was a fun environment, and more than just like sometimes whenever you're at these events, you have to look past more than just the game, which the game is solid, and I really enjoyed the game. But you have to look
Yeah.
past that and the people who are running the booth. How are the devs? How do they treat you? Are they really cool, interesting people? And they are. Justin and all of them. They were really.
Tyler with the pins.
That was funny. Yeah, we had a fun time at that booth. I enjoyed that booth. Past just the game being good, the people there were really cool,
Yeah.
and I liked it. I thought that it was the best. Uh,
I would say we easily spent 6 hours at that booth throughout the 3 days. Easily.
yeah, that's another thing that I really want to mention during this segment as well is at PAX South. Usually, the bigger and bolder and more grand the
Mhm.
booth is, the better the game is. I
These
would
guys had a
say
10 by 10 booth. They had the smallest booth there.
I would say that most of the really great games, all the great games that I loved were not at these huge
No,
booths.
they were
Probably the
not.
only booth that was massive that I thought the game was really good was a game that's already been out, Brawlhalla. Brawlhalla had a massive booth. They were actually having like this they were having
Tournament
this
type thing.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
basically if you could beat the developer or land a hit on the developer, you would get a pin or something.
A pin or a t-shirt, I don't
Yeah.
know.
It was
It
like
was
if you beat the developer, you get a t-shirt. If you can hit the developer, you get a pin or something
it
like
was
that.
way too many people for me to go over there. I didn't wanna stand anywhere near. I'm not didn't wanna be in that big of a crowd.
But Brawlhalla's been out before and it's a good
Yeah.
game. They had a huge booth. Other than that, I guess Tiny Build had a big booth. They had some interesting like let's call them gimmicky games
Yeah.
that were there, which is kind of what Tiny Build's known for. So I'm not gonna bash them on that for any reason, but I would say most of the really interesting, unique games all came from smaller booths. They weren't these massive booths with huge advertisements on the side.
No.
It was people that put love into their game, not love into the ads. That's how
Absolutely.
I'll put it. So that is Doom Trooper. Let's go ahead and move on to another uh, mention. So this is Obey Me. This is another special mention, but it is not for a particularly good reason. I wanted to include this, and this is probably the most controversial booth we were at. Um, so this is published by Blowfish Studios, and I have never heard of this company before. I've never seen this company before. I really don't know a ton about this company, but this was one of the games that I played at their booths, and the game was fine. It is kind of a hack and slash game, has a combo system, um, decent enough storyline. Let's see if I can actually show. Yeah, there's a slideshow of pictures, very bright colors. Uh, Gonna be on Steam, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch. Overall, I liked the game. It was not bad. It was fun. Me and Flared both played Obey Me, and Flair actually played the demo version where he had a boss at the end. One of the devs messed up somehow, and I was actually playing the full game. And
Yeah,
I
they
got to a
set it up
certain
on
point in the
a.
game. Hello?
I'm still here.
Okay. Are you going
I
You
didn't know
just
if you were ready
died.
to stop or not. They had set it up on a Xbox on your computer that they didn't plan on setting it up. Something had happened with the PlayStation, and so they brought the Xbox as a backup and just didn't have the demo up.
Yeah, so I ended up playing the full game. It was just as good as the demo. As far as I could tell, it was smooth, good combat, nothing bad against the game whatsoever. It was good. It was a decent hack and slash. I mean, I didn't see anything that was overly special, but you don't really need to be overly special in a hack and slash. You just need to provide entertainment. That's what hack and slashes are for. They're literally go in there, not a whole lot of strategy. There's a little bit of dodging and stuff like that was with this particular game, but there wasn't. You didn't have to dodge or anything. It was mostly just hack and slash, and I liked that. I liked the simplicity of it. So why did this game make the honorable mentions, or not even the special mentions list? When we first walked up to the booth, we asked if we could play the game. There wasn't really anybody around the booth at the moment that were wanting to play. So hey, can we jump on and play? And yeah, go ahead. Play. So we hop down, we sit down, and I asked Kayla to come over and film. Well, immediately the developer's mood just switches on a dime. And instead of being open, hey, play the game, yeah, you can. Immediately, he got upset that we didn't make an appointment or something like that. And I was like, oh, well, we can turn off the camera and we can go then. That's not a problem if you don't want, your game recorded or anything like that. We can. And he goes, no, it's fine. You don't even have a media badge anyway. To which I was immediately like, I'm like, that is insanely rude. Like, just because somebody doesn't have a content creator badge or a media badge, you don't know what type of an audience that person has. And you should have just been, hey, we don't want you to record. And if you do want to record, sign up for I didn't even know they had to sign up because, like I said, I've never heard of this company before. Didn't know they had to sign up for content creators. Didn't know they had to sign up for media. Didn't know they had any of that. So like every other booth, you just kind of show up, you record the game. If they have a problem with it, they will let you know. This dude was extremely unprofessional. I don't know the dude's name, but he was very rude, unprofessional. I didn't like talking to him. And luckily, he left because I didn't want to talk to him. I don't get mad at this dude wasn't even a developer, obviously. He was some type of producer. He probably worked for Blowfish, if I had to guess, because Blowfish is a publishing company. They are not a game developer, from what I understand. This game was developed by Error 404 Game Studios. So, shout out to Error 404 Game Studios. You made a good game. The game is not bad. I liked it. Also, shout out to Blowfish. Your publisher, your guy who's selling you your game, he was an ass. That's all I have to say about it. That guy left. He was... I don't know what he went to do. I could care less, to be honest with you. But another guy came over, and he was super nice. Night and day. He came over. Oh, hey, man. Oh, you're playing the actual game right now? So I'm going to let you know whenever you need to stop because we can't show everything. I'm like, that's fine, dude. He's like, cool. And then he sat there and he talked to me and he was fine. Whoever the other dude was, I don't know who he was. All of the developers at all of PAX, all of the publishers at all of it were all super nice. I ran into this dude before he had his coffee that morning or something. I don't know what happened to him. So that is why this... I don't even want to say it's the game, because Obey Me was a good game. It was fine. I have no problem with the game. I liked it. I would even consider buying it. I don't like the publisher. I just don't. PR is a real part of. PR is a real part of the industry. And if you don't. By the way, I know that it sounds like Miss Kayla is quiet for our audio listeners. Her headset is no longer working. So I cannot hear her. Anyway, yeah. I have no problem with the game. I really just had a problem with the way that one, and it's literally just that one guy. Just that one guy made it a problem. Because the other guy that came over from Blowfish, he was great, cool dude, had no problems with him. He sat, talked to us, told me about the game. The other dude, he total night and day, total difference. And I think that the other publisher, the other guy may have noticed that, because the second that the other guy left and just kind of G'd out, he came over and oh, hey, by the way, and he actually talked to me as if he was trying to put out a fire. I don't know. I want to put this on the mentions list, not because the game was anything spectacular. The game is good, and I would probably buy this game still. But I just want to talk about how not to treat people at your booth at PAX South or at any convention, whatever the convention is. Don't be an a-hole because somebody doesn't have the correct media credentials or the content creator or doesn't sign up. There's ways to go about things to not look like an a-hole. And that's how I'm going to end that. All right, let's see if we can get Kayla back here on the audio. Hello, are you back? Nope, you are broken. What is wrong, Kayla? All right, guys, we are going to take a short break. I need to go and fix Kayla's audio. I will bring you guys back in just a moment. And 3, 2, 1, we are back. Welcome back, Kayla. How are you doing?
I am great.
I'm glad that I was able to fix your headset problem because you didn't plug it into the right port. So that is it for the games that we are going to talk about from PAX South 2020. That's 16 games. We covered all 16 of them. I'll probably break them up into clips on the Kilodrome Clips channel, and also I will be uploading the full video of this to our the Rogue Robot podcast channel on YouTube. Also, if you guys are listening to the audio version, obviously you know where to find this. So, last segment for the podcast, and a interesting one. Kayla, let's talk about Bad Boys. Bad Boys for life. We're going to try and keep this spoiler free for the most part in this review, but I do want to talk about the movie. What did you think about the movie, Kayla?
I thought it was a good movie. You know not to ask open-ended questions like this.
What was good about the movie, Kayla?
That does not help any.
I forgot that I have to word every question like a college exam. Like I have to give you 8 parts in order to...
Sorry.
Okay, so I guess I will start this out.
I mean, I liked how action-packed it was. I liked that it constantly was moving along. There wasn't like any dead screen time or anything like that. But
okay, so Martin Lawrence came back for this movie, and I do want to start with that. I like that he came back. I do. I think that this movie, this duo, Martin Lawrence with Will Smith, just works great. It does. It is such a amazing combo. I'm glad that Martin Lawrence came back, picked back up his role for Marcus, and carried the movie through. I love that. They even do this whole both of them are older thing, and I
Yeah.
like it. I do. I like that because the last movie was like in what, '05 or something like that. I don't remember exactly, so don't quote me on that. But it's been a while, and both of the guys have aged significantly. Both of them are older, so you wouldn't expect them to still be the bad boys, you know? And there's even
Right.
a kind of a joke that they showed in the trailer, so this isn't a spoiler, but one of the jokes in the trailer was nah, man, we ain't bad boys anymore. We're going to be good men. And Will Smith looks back at him. He's like, good men? Who wants to sing that? Good men, what you gonna do? See, it don't work, stupid. And that is such a great point. Like, you have this dynamic of Will Smith still wanting to be the bad boy. He wants to be the bad boys from the first two movies. He's still a cop, still wants to be a cop. And Martin Lawrence, he's ready to hang it up. He's older, he's got a family, he's uh there's a lot that he's going through at the moment, and he's ready to hang up his badge and retire and just spend time with his family, which I like that dynamic. Now, some things happen during the movie that I'm not going to spoil because this is going to be spoiler free, but they both go on one last adventure, one last bad boys for life. And it's fun. It's action packed. Now, this movie was not directed by Michael Bay. Michael Bay directed the last two movies. Kayla, could you tell the difference in the directors?
Me? No.
Okay, I could. Only slightly, and only because I knew that it was two different directors. They basically made fun of Michael Bay the entire movie. They had scenes. Do you remember? This isn't a spoiler, like a car chase is not a spoiler. During a car chase,
Hmm.
they had the dude with a pistol, and he like shoots the car that's on the back of this big truck once, and the
Yes.
whole car explodes.
Right. Yeah.
That is so Michael Bay esque. Like, there's no way that would have. There is nothing you can shoot at the front of a
No.
car one time and
Not
the
realistic
whole
at all.
car immediately explodes. Nothing. That is like
No.
a jab at Michael Bay. Like, hey, we're gonna do stupid stuff like you did, and they nailed it. Then I loved it. It's one of those movies that you have to suspend disbelief for because it is so ridiculous at some points that you're like, yeah, yeah, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's so good. It was. It was a great movie. It was. I would give it. It's a movie that you got to go in and don't think about. If you don't think about it, it's going to be a great movie. If you think about it too long, you're gonna think it's stupid. Go in as go in as you enjoy popcorn and watch this movie. You're just gonna eat, turn off brain for, and it's actually a long movie. It's like
Two and a half hours or close to it.
Yeah, it's a long movie for a action film like that. And you just like sitting. If you're sitting there with popcorn stuff in your face and just turning brain off and what, great movie. It's kind of I don't want to say this because it's another Michael Bay film, but it's kind of Transformer-ish, where you're going in to look at the pretty colors and explosions and stuff. The story is not super in depth or detailed, or in fact, I would say that the story is slightly above average. It's not a great story. Um, if it wasn't for the duo between Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, I think that the film would actually struggle a bit in the story
Yeah.
department. But them two really keep the story going.
It's definitely a good thing he came back out of retirement to do this movie.
Yeah, I don't think the movie would do
No,
good
I don't think
without
they
him.
could have done it without him.
Because they are the bad boys. That's
Right.
they
Right.
are
It
the
just
duo for the
wouldn't
movie.
work.
Now, I don't know that Martin Lawrence is going to come back to do another one. I think this is him hanging up his coat. You may get Will
Yeah.
Smith back for another one or something, but I think you got Martin Lawrence out of retirement once for this. I don't think you're getting him back out for another one.
Did you have a favorite part of the movie that you could talk about without spoiling it?
Most of my favorite parts were the jokes, was the interactions between them two.
Yeah.
Um, my favorite part of the movie is actually at the beginning of the movie.
Mhm.
Uh, you know the part that I'm talking about. I don't
I
think
didn't know if
this.
you wanted to talk about that or not, though. That's why I asked it
I
the way I
don't
did.
think this is a major spoiler, but you know what? If you don't want a spoiler, click away because this was a funny moment, and I don't think it's a massive spoiler. But if you guys absolutely want to go in fresh, then whatever. Reggie. Reggie is back. Reggie, if you don't
Yes.
remember, was from Bad Boys 2, and Reggie is the guy that comes to take Marcus's daughter on a date. And Will Smith and Martin Lawrence have this famous basically trying to intimidate this kid, and they're like,
Trying to scare him off in any means possible.
yeah, like there's this one part where Will Smith looks at him and he goes, "Hey man, you ever made love with a man?" And Reggie goes,
No, sir.
"No." He goes, "You want to?" Like just stuff like that to try and like scare this kid off. He even talks about wanting to fight him in the front yard. He's like, hey, I just need to know if this dude knows how to fight. He's taking my niece out. I need to know if he can protect himself. It's a great scene. Anyway, that guy, Reggie from Bad Boys 2, makes it into Bad Boys
Bad
for
Boys
Life.
for life.
And I'm not going to spoil exactly how and all that, but he's
No, but it was
back
cool that he was back.
and it was great. I loved the scene that they did with him. It was perfect. I
It was a very nice touch for the movie.
Yes, and the second that I saw him in,
I saw your face light up.
I literally, he made it.
I could feel it from next to me. Like I could just feel your face light up.
It was great. It really was. I am so glad that and it's the same actor from what I can tell. It's this. They didn't even like
Yeah.
have to get another It was
It's
so
definitely
good.
the same guy.
It was so good. I love that Reggie was back. And the way that they did him, they didn't make him overly goofy or anything like that. They basically slipped him in there. I think he only had 2 scenes during the movie, but
Something
both
like that.
both times that they slipped him in there, it was natural. It wasn't forced humor or anything like that. I think that it was fine. They had this additional task force that they set up during the movie to help out the bad boys. And whenever that first started, I was kind of worried for the movie. I thought, well, maybe they're going to go with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence are too old to do the job, so this group of basically Fast and Furious characters almost that they're about to take over,
Okay.
and Will Smith and Martin Lawrence are going to be side pieces. And I thought that that's where they were going to go, where they're too old to do this, and they're just going to make them a mockery, and they're going to have this team be like the specialized people that are going to do all the stuff. They didn't do that.
No.
It actually was handled pretty well, and I liked it. I did. I would give this movie. Actually, what would you give this movie? I want to know that first.
I don't know. I'm not good at rating movies. Like I don't know, 9 out of 10.
A 9? That's probably what I would give this movie too. A 9 or an 8, somewhere around there. Definitely worth going to see, or seeing at some point, whether it be in the
Right.
movies or after it's out of the movies. Whatever. I liked the movie. I thought it was good and definitely worth a watch. But I think that's where we're going to wrap up the first podcast. I'm calling it a success. We hit the 2-hour mark, Kayla.
Yeah.
That's a long time. I did not expect us to hit the 2-hour mark, at least for the live stream. Probably a little bit shorter for the audio version of the podcast. But
I mean, that's what happens when you want to talk about 16 games.
well, we had a lot to cover. The next couple of podcasts probably won't be that long. Well, it depends on who we're talking to, but yeah, that we got through all the games. We talked about Bad Boys for Life. Anything
You know what
else?
we didn't talk about?
What?
The escape room.
We did not talk about the escape room. Do you want to talk about that now?
That was probably my highlight of PAX, honestly.
Okay, now whenever we
That was
started
fun.
whenever we started off this podcast, I asked you, I was like, "Hey, is there anything from the entire trip that stuck out to
Well, I
you?"
forgot about it until we started talking about the guy that came up to you, and then I remembered because that was right after we left the escape room that night. It was like 7:15 at night. It was dark.
Okay, well,
Jogged my memory.
I tell you what, you talk us through the escape room.
Me talk. Okay. Well, this was after the Pokemon thing that we sat through, right?
Yeah,
It was
after the
like
Pokemon
six
panel.
o'clock. We're like, okay, well, Expo Hall was closing because it closed at 6, and there wasn't anything else that we wanted to do. But it was the first day, and we still wanted to go and do something. We weren't ready to go back to the hotel yet and call it a night. We weren't ready for food either. So we started looking up things to do around the convention center, and we found this escape room. And it wasn't too far away, it was within walking distance. So we're like, okay, let's go give it a shot. And so we walked over there, we walked in, and we asked the guys at the front, like, which room they would suggest us doing, because the three of us had never done one before. And he told us that the three different rooms had the different success rates. The one we ended up doing had like a 20% success rate, right?
Yeah, the one that we did was called The Dig, and it had a 20% success rate.
And then the other two were 18 and 15. So we went with the easiest of the three, not by much, but just the more entry level one. And there was another group of four there that had signed up to do the room with us. So the seven of us did the room together. And we walked in, and he gave us the rundown, all the rules and everything like that. And for those of you that have done an escape room before, he said this one wasn't like any of the other ones where they didn't penalize you for using hints, they didn't dock any of your time, and there wasn't a limited number of hints either. So we all agreed to try not to use them unless we absolutely had to. We didn't want to take advantage of that, but they were there if we needed them. So we go in, and the guy gives us all the rules. He walks out and starts the timer. Well, immediately in the corner, me and two other guys see this puzzle that needs to be solved. And so it's like sliding blocks where there's one missing, so you have room to move everything around and you're trying to make the picture.
I think
So
those are
me,
called pictogram puzzles.
I don't know what they're called,
I think that's
but
what they're called. It's the sliding puzzles
yeah,
where you try to
me
make a picture out of the slides.
me, Flared, and another guy that was with us. His name was Michael. We all three started working on it, and then Flared and Michael eventually left, and you came up and helped me with it towards the end. So the two of us eventually finished it, and we could pick out which ones went in the corners up at the top because they kind of had like white missing on the edges, so you could tell that they had been like slammed into the edge a lot. So that's how we found those two pieces, and then we eventually made it all the way through the puzzle. And whenever we did the puzzle, there was a box underneath it that opened, and that had a key inside of it. Well, we didn't realize that was what opened whenever we immediately finished the puzzle because while we were doing that, the other five guys in the room, because you and I were over here, they were doing other stuff in the room, solving other puzzles, and they had opened a door at the exact same time that we had finished the puzzle. So at first, I thought the door opened from us. And then I realized Michael told me that somebody had sat down in like a little confession room that they had in here, and them sitting is what opened the door. So he told us that there should have been something else that opened from the puzzle that we did. And that's when we realized it was a box with the key. And then there was a little box on the door behind us that the key opened, and it had a key in it, like a legend. And so we grabbed that, and we all went through the door to the next room.
So I'm just going to interrupt real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
The legend that she's talking about is it's like hieroglyphics. It's symbols, and it correlates to a letter. Now there's
Mhm.
three legends on this piece of paper for three different doctors, and it's Indiana Jones themed. But we had to figure out which doctor's legend to use to decrypt words in the
There were
escape room.
actually 4. There was another one on the back that we didn't see until later on in the room, but there were 3 in the middle whenever you opened it up, and then there was 1 on the back.
Okay.
But anyway, you made it into the next room before I did, so you kinda explain how we walked in there.
Okay. So let back up again to the legend. The way that we figured out what doctor to use for the legend to figure out which code was correct. It was on the wall and it said Doctor whoever's research facility or something. So that's how we figured out, hey, this is the doctor's stuff we're supposed to use. So we started using that legend throughout the rest of the escape room. So whenever you walk into this second room, it's a mine, which kind of goes with the dig, which
Right.
was the title of the escape room. So Whenever we walk in, it's kind of an L-shaped room. There's a table in the center of the room that has some blueprints on it, and then to the right side of the room, there is some crates against the wall. One of those crates has a metal cage with a little idol in it, like a little gold statue. And then there's also some camera equipment on that right side, another set of crates, and then on the left side of the room, past the table, there is this big Skyrim style dial. So if you
Dial.
guys,
Yeah.
yeah, if you guys know what Skyrim is, you know how you match up the symbols and it opens up a door. So that's basically what we have. It's a turning
There
dial with
were
a bunch of different symbols
5 or
on it.
6 different circles that turned on this. So it wasn't just like 1 or 2. It was pretty big and it had a lot of symbols on it. This took us forever to figure out.
Yeah. So once we got into the room, immediately I go to the blueprints and I start looking at the blueprints. And the guy that we were doing it with, I don't remember what his name was, but he had this idea for the blueprints, and I was like, I don't think you're right. So I started playing out with the blueprints, and I figured out, hey, this is blueprints for the room that we're standing in. So I lined them up correctly, and it makes a pattern of a letter that you can see in the legend. So
Mhm.
it ended up being, I believe that one was a R, I believe.
I believe, yeah.
So we have our first letter. We have an R. This is going to be important for the rest of the escape room. So one letter is R. Well, then on that blueprint, we also have X's. So we kind of figure the camera equipment, like the tripods, they kind of make an X style thing. So what we did was we placed the camera equipment on the X's in the room
Mhm.
where the blueprints kind of laid them out. And we pointed them on the blueprints. There was an arrow pointing toward a particular direction. So we pointed the cameras, the tripods, in that direction. Well, then we kind of got stuck, couldn't figure it out. I had the idea of, hey, let's walk in the direction of where the camera would be facing to that wall. And we started looking at that wall, and there's numbers on the wall. I don't remember exactly what the code was. It was like 8366 or something like that. Well, that just happened to go to the padlock where that gold idol was, where that gold statue
Mhm.
was. So we open that up, we get the gold statue, and we have no idea what to do with the gold statue. Well, there's a couple of other things in the room that we found.
Right.
We found
Meanwhile, while y'all were doing all of this, me and Flared and Michael again had gone over to the dial. And next to the dial, there was a grid on the floor that I had picked up. And it just so happened to fit perfectly in front of the dial. So we were looking at it and we were trying to figure out how that correlated to the letters that were on the outside of the dial. And we were all wrong. So the letters had nothing to do with it, but we didn't know that yet. It was just decoration in the room. And I started recognizing some of the symbols that were around the dials. I was like, hey, that was on the puzzle that I solved. Like there was a star, there was a diamond, there was a moon, there was a fleur de lis. Like there were all these symbols that I recognized. So we started bringing the grid back to the puzzle in the first room and seeing where it lined up. And the puzzle had like letters across and down, and so did the grid. So we were trying to see, okay, this symbol lines up with AN. So we would bring the grid back to the dial and we are trying to do like AN and put the symbol in that spot. Well, that wasn't right. We figured that out, what, like 20 minutes later, we messed with this for out of the hour that we had. We spent probably 25 minutes on this stupid dial trying to figure it out.
uh-huh.
And we eventually figured out that there was a journal we were missing that was hidden in one of the crates across the room that we just hadn't picked up yet. And whenever we picked it up, there was another letter in it or something. Or no, it was the bookmark and it said different things. It was like
So
B
the bookmark that was in the journal gave you
letters that you needed.
letters that you needed for the coordinates of the fleur de lis, the star,
Symbol.
and all,
Yeah.
in order to figure out that pattern that was on the door in order
Yeah.
to open that door. So we eventually figured that out, and that opens another room. But before we get to that room, let's talk about the shovel. We found a shovel in the same mine room, and we placed that shovel
Yeah.
down on a rock. That opened up the rock. The rock like was on a hinge, and it lifted up. In
After
there
y'all
was a
almost
pottery
broke it.
piece. Yeah, after we almost broke it because it wasn't working. Anyway, there's a pottery piece in that rock, and that pottery piece had another symbol on it, and it was a
U.
U, I believe. So we
Yes, it was
have
U.
two letters. We have
R
U.
and U.
Yeah, we have
Well, in
U
the
and
order that
R.
we found them, they were R and U.
Yeah. So past that, Kayla opened up that other room. When you opened up that room, it's literally just like a light show. It's just flashing white lights with a bunch of symbols on the wall.
And some
Whenever you
colored lights.
No, whenever you take the gold statue and put it in the middle, then you get the colored lights because there was like a stand in the
Okay.
middle. So you put the gold statue in the middle slot, all the flashy lights turn off, and you get colored lights. So we started trying to decrypt the colored lights, thinking that the symbols were actually what we needed, but you actually needed the colors.
Yeah.
The colors were red, green,
Purple,
yellow,
red,
something.
green, and blue. Purple, red, green, and blue.
Well,
And
that
in the first room, there was a picture on the wall, and there was actually a handprint on the picture in red. So we had all noticed that at the beginning, and we thought that was how you opened the first door originally. We tried putting our hands on it, and it didn't work. Well, whenever we realized the colors that y'all were hollering out from the third room matched some of the colors that were towards the middle of this picture on the wall, I put my hand on the purple and I think the blue up at the top, and then Flared and Michael hit the green and the red. And when we did that, another picture frame that was on the original wall where the door we walked in opened. And when that opened, we got
a
another
box.
padlock box out of it.
Yeah.
And that's what we needed the letters for. But we still only had 2 letters and we needed 4.
So the next letter was
Why?
Y. I don't remember how we got that one.
I think that came from the blueprint. The
No,
the
that
R
was the
came from the
R.
blueprint. I don't remember where they got the Y from, but they got the Y.
Maybe. Oh, was that on the bottom of the idol? Was that on the bottom of
Yes,
the gold
it was
idol?
either the no, yeah, it was the bottom of the no, it was the you remember the like bird bath thing in the first room?
No, that was the B.
No, we guessed the B. We never found the B.
I thought
That
we
was the
found the
Y.
B.
No,
Okay.
that was the Y. It was on the side of it. We just happened. He gave us a hint. That was one of the hints we asked for to figure out where the Y was, where the letter. And then once we had R, U, and Y, we had scrolled through the padlock enough and realized there was only one spot with a U, one spot with an R, and one spot with a Y. So we had those in order, and we were just missing the B. So Michael was just flipping through until it opened when he found the right letter, and B happened to be the letter. And at the same time that he found the B, one of the guys was like, "Well, we're in a room called Dig. Try the opposite of that. Try Barry." And it was the exact same time that he had flipped to the B and it opened up. And that's how we put the key in to press the little buzzer to open the door to get out. And we had a minute and some seconds left at that point.
Yeah. The guys that
Or
we talked to said that it is one of the hardest escape rooms they've ever done. We also didn't use a ton of hints
nah, I think we
throughout the
used probably
thing.
5.
Yeah, maybe. He said that because they don't give a limit on the hints and they don't dock your time, a lot of people abuse the hints that they get.
Right. So they
So,
just go hint after hint after hint to get out in 20 minutes. And we didn't want to do that. We wanted to actually think about it and try to do it on our own.
yeah, it was fun. I would like to do another escape room. I really
Definitely.
enjoyed that. But yeah, they don't let you record inside of them, so we didn't
Mm-mm.
get to record any of it, but it was very hectic and I enjoyed it. But
We did take a picture at the end with the group that we were in, and they uploaded that to their Facebook. So we have a copy of that from the escape room. So that
yeah.
was kind of cool.
But yeah, I think that's everything that we did in San Antonio. Pax South.
Very much.
I talked about the Mexican food. We went to another restaurant that was called Yard House. It was pretty good.
We went to
Um,
a lot of different restaurants, a lot of new places just to try them out while we were there. And then we went to some big chains like Hooters and stuff like that. But
yeah, we went and watched the fights at Hooters. I would talk about the fights, but I know you don't care. So,
it's not that I don't care, it's that I don't know a lot.
well, I was sad. I was sad. So we're talking about UFC 246. In case you guys are not familiar, my boy is Cowboy Cerrone. He's my favorite fighter, and he lost to Conor McGregor on his return to the octagon. So that was very disappointing. Not to mention the fight before that with Raquel
Raquel.
Pennington. Raquel Pennington versus Holly Holm was a very, very boring fight. So, yeah, not a great card for me. I guess if you were a Conor McGregor fan, the 40-second finish was great, but yeah, I was not a fan. So, or I guess I'm a fan of Conor McGregor, just not whenever he's going against Cowboy.
Yeah.
So. Anyway, I think that is going to be where we end off this podcast. Thank you for joining me today, Kayla. I appreciate you taking the time to run through all these games with me, run through the movie review with me, and also go on the trip with me, because putting up with me and Flared for a few days in Nerd City was, I'm sure, an experience.
Oh, it was fun. It was a
But
good Christmas present, that's for sure.
yeah, it was fun. Anyway, that is going to be where we wrap up today with the Rogue Robot podcast. Here in the live version, I'm going to get some questions from you guys, but for the audio version and the YouTube version, this is where we're going to end it. And that is going to be it for today. I hope you enjoyed, and we will see you in the next episode. You guys have a great day.